Hey guys, for the final time tonight, it's about 2 in the morning. Just got back from walking my dog outside. I think the temperature outside right now is about 12 degrees, give or take, but wanted to give my final analysis of the Iowa caucus and also have you have the opportunity to see little clips of the candidates' speeches for the night and, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy's final speech as he dropped out of the race. So it's an interesting night, and if you're a Trump fan, you could say that your candidate had a good night. I would personally say that Trump had a good enough night, not necessarily a very good night, not necessarily the best possible case scenario, but he certainly has a good scenario before him. This is because not only did he win and win quite comfortably, he got over the magic 50% mark. That's sort of what he needed. There would have been a big argument, even if Trump got 49% of the vote, that he had some chink in his armor and that the anti-Trump vote would accumulate to about 51% of the vote. Of course, that logic wouldn't actually hold water because Vivek Ramaswamy got 8% of the vote, and a good chunk of his vote would probably go to Donald Trump. And obviously, he endorsed Trump quite quickly after he dropped out. So not doing any events for him in New Hampshire anymore, which is a bummer. But ran an interesting campaign, certainly a controversial candidate, tried to speak some truth to power, and probably doesn't need to necessarily drop out. I think he did decently enough, but he is out of the race, and Nikki Haley did not do as well as she would have liked. Nikki Haley was hoping to come in second place. This is why Trump is sort of sitting pretty at this point, because if Haley had gotten second place, then she would be the de facto Trump alternative. Now, Ron DeSantis lives to fight another day. But again, Trump certainly benefits, or Trump certainly has a sunny outlook on this situation, because now at this point, DeSantis is still there and still very much in the race, but he did not have an impressive second place finish. If DeSantis beat Haley by 10%, then Trump might have him to worry about. But DeSantis also looked weak, only beating Haley by 2 points. By that perspective, Haley did decently enough to limp into New Hampshire, and she could still quite very possibly win the state of New Hampshire. I would say at this point, she has as much as a 50% chance. I really do think she has a solid chance. I think the makeup in New Hampshire is very different. She's worked hard here. She has a good ground game. And independents have the luxury to vote in New Hampshire. And I went to a Dean Phillips event. Dean Phillips is a candidate running for the Democratic nomination. And I met somebody who will probably end up, even though he's a Democrat and likes Dean Phillips, he hates Trump so much he'll probably end up voting for Nikki Haley. So there's a lot of those voters in New Hampshire that really make this sleeper race quite competitive. And therefore, this primary competitive. Will Trump ultimately be the victor? I think quite obviously yes. But I think this race will ultimately go into Super Tuesday, and Nikki Haley is a stronger candidate than a lot of people give her credit for. For her to come this far in the time span of about 4 months says that she's a talented candidate, and it's not just money. And yes, a lot of people say, well, she's funded by everybody, but how did she get to that point? She performed well in the debates. She's likable. She's charismatic. She's good on the stump. She's good with voters. So there's a lot of nice things, which I know a lot of the audience, especially a lot of the new audience that I got from Vivek's fan base, because I do respect Vivek as a candidate. I know they will not like me to hear this, but there's a lot of talent in Nikki Haley. And I'll just say this flat out. She would be the best GOP candidate against Biden and would totally crush him. Trump, it's still very much a race. I would give Trump the edge, but I'd give Trump maybe a 65% edge. So that's my basic analysis of where the race stands now. Trump got over 50%, but not much over 50%. Remember, 2 months ago, Trump was polling at about 60% in Iowa. So he lost some momentum. That's why I'm saying this is still very much a race. But now let's talk about some of the speeches. Trump was very genial. Thanks, Doug Burgum. That was the South Dakota governor, because Kristi Noem is North Dakota. South Dakota governor who endorsed him, who did reasonably well in the debates and has experience as a businessman as well.
But we have really the support of the people of Iowa, which has been just incredible. Another man who was actually the first person to endorse me in the entire country. He's a state senator. His name is Brad Zahn. He looks like he's the most handsome guy, I think. Oh, you made it. He had to drive from his Caucus location. You made it. I call him the Marlboro Man. Hey, Brad. You want to say something? Come on, go up, say something.
Well, I'll tell you, I had to actually do a TV interview bragging about you. The reason why I was late is because of that, but is he awesome or what? I am honored to be the first person in the United States to endorse this guy. The next president, the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
And when he says endorse, we're really talking about 2015. He endorsed me before, actually, long before I knew I was going to run. I said, who's this man in Iowa? He's a senator, a state senator. He's a good-looking guy, too. Doesn't he look? You could pay him and give him a lot of money. And by the way, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for being here. You are so great. Comes all the way from Missouri, which isn't that far. You can't drive an electric car that far, though. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. The group of people that we have on the stage is just emblematic of the tremendous group that we've had. We've had such a great team. You know, we did well. We were looking really good in 2016. And just to go back to the senator, he was saying, I said, who is that guy? Brad, his name. Who is he? He keeps endorsing me. He keeps saying Trump, and I didn't even know I was running. He endorsed me 4 months before I knew I was running, about 4 months before the Escalade ride down with our great First Lady. And that was Brad. I said, who is he? So he was the first one. But we have people that are so incredible. Your Republican Party chairman, Bobby Kaufman, and his son, who is a brilliant guy, and he worked with us. And I will tell you, that is a family of real professionals. Matt Whitaker, who is the very talented and very good Attorney General. Where is Matt? He's around here someplace, and he's been with us all the way. You know, we have a man that was very impressive, and I say there's nothing wrong with it. He's so solid and so good that he didn't catch on. Sometimes being a little controversial is good. He's so perfect, although he did break his leg during the campaign. That wasn't so good, but it sort of stood out a little bit, Doug. But Doug Burgum from North Dakota, the governor, and his beautiful wife, Catherine, and he got out of the race. What people don't know is that he actually supported me on the other side twice already, right? Then he decided to do it, and he was outstanding. But the traction is never easy, right? You need controversy for traction sometimes, and this guy is the most solid guy. There's no controversy whatsoever, and he's one of the best governors in our country, and I hope that I'm going to be able to call on him to be a piece of the administration, a very important piece of the administration. And also, just to conclude with this, the entire Trump team, and that includes my two boys who are really here all the time, whenever we needed them. Whenever we needed them. They are great, Eric and Don. And look at all these people. Oh, Susie, I have to say. And Chris. And they want no accolades. They just want a victory, and they want to make America great again. That's all they want, actually. They don't want to be speaking. They don't want to have pictures. They just want to do their job, right? I want to thank you very much, Jason, everybody. You're really fantastic. What a job you've done. Thank you. So we're going to come together. We're going to drill, baby, drill right away. Yeah. Drill, baby, drill. We're going to seal up the border. Because right now we have an invasion. We have an invasion of millions and millions of people that are coming into our country. I can't imagine why they think that's a good thing. It's a very bad thing. I think it's a group of people that are probably larger in number than New York State. And we can't have that. We can't have that. It's not sustainable as a country. It's horrible. And you know, they're coming from prisons and jails. They're coming from all over. They're coming from countries that most people have never heard of. And they're coming from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're being emptied out into our country. And they're terrorists. Many terrorists are coming in. You know, in 2019, I saw just recently on a poll They had none in 29, no terrorists. Now, I even say there's got to be some, but they have none. And then as soon as this group took over, they have hundreds and hundreds of terrorists coming in, known terrorists, some of them really bad. And many of them are in, and they came in, and nobody knows where they are. This is not a good thing. And we're going to have to deport. We're going to have a deportation level that we haven't seen in this country for a long time, since Dwight Eisenhower, actually. So I don't want to be overly rough on the president, but I have to say that he is the worst president that we've had in the history of our country. He's destroying our country. And, you know, my wife attended the funeral 2 months ago of Rosalind Carter, and it was beautiful. And Jimmy Carter was there, and I thought to myself, Jimmy Carter is happy now, because he will go down as being a brilliant president by comparison to Joe Biden. He'll be a brilliant president. He's going to be known as brilliant by comparison. So we have to stop the invasion. We have to bring down our energy. We have to, you know, I say all the time, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation anywhere in the world. And we have to stop the crime, and we have to help rebuild our cities, and we have to rebuild the Capitol, Washington, D.C. I was there on one of the Biden indictment trials. You know, this is the only person this never happened before, but I go to a lot of courthouses because of Biden, because they're using that for election interference. And it's on things like election, and I don't know if you know, but they did polls tonight on the election of 2020. Do you believe it was honest or not? 82% said it was not. And we can't have that, Chairman. We can't have that. You can't have a situation like that. So we're going to straighten out our elections. We're going to do a lot of great things. We're going to try and go to paper ballots as soon as possible. Voter ID, one day elections. You know, we have these elections that last for 62 days, and if you need some more time, take as much time as you want, and so many bad things happen. We have to get rid of mail-in ballots, because once you have mail-in ballots, you have crooked elections. Actually, Jimmy Carter's commission said that a long time ago. We're going to rescue our economy. We're going to save our economy. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. There was never a greater economy, and now we don't. And when you look at what's happened with inflation, inflation is destroying. You know, they call it a country killer. Going back hundreds of years, Germany, countries that had big inflation are dead. They become dead countries. We have to stop that immediately. And we want peace through strength. Russia would have never attacked Ukraine, would have never done it. Putin and I get along fine. We get along very well. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. The fake news, which if the fake news would become real and honest news, 90% of our problems in this country would be solved. They would be solved. So Russia would have never attacked. Israel would have never been attacked. The Ukraine situation is so horrible. The Israeli situation is so horrible, what's happened. And we're going to get them solved. We're going to get them solved very fast. I actually said Ukraine. I know President Putin very well. I know Zelensky very well. I'm going to get him in. We're going to get it solved very quickly. Should have never happened. Would have never happened. Now you have all that death, far greater than people understand. The numbers are far, far greater than anybody would even think possible. You're going to find that out in the years to come. When they knock down these massive buildings in Ukraine, and then you see they announced 2 people were slightly wounded. No, many people were killed. Many people were killed. We're going to get it stopped. But it's so sad because it should have never started. People killed and a culture destroyed. You can never replace 1,000-year-old buildings with the most beautiful golden domes and churches and everything, just all rubble now. And it's so sad. Would have never, ever happened. And likewise, Israel would have never been attacked. It all comes from Iran, and we would have had to deal with Iran very quickly had the election where we, by the way, got, and I say we because it's all we We got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. But they say we lost by a whisker, okay? But regardless of that, we're going to do incredible things, and we're not going to let China do what they'd like to do. I get along great with him also. President Xi, he's a very strong leader. And we're going to get things solved. We're going to get the Ukraine war solved. We're going to get the Israeli situation solved. But if you think back to that, Iran was broke. I said to every country, anybody does business with Iran, buys oil from Iran, they were broke. We're not going to let you do business in the United States. And that's the way it is. They did very little business, almost sold no oil. Nobody wanted to do that. That's a big penalty. And what happened is they had no money to give to Hamas and to give to Hezbollah. And in fact, there were a lot of stories at the time. They had no money for terror. And for 4 years, we had no terror. We had the terror ban. We had the terror ban. They call it the Trump travel ban, but it was really the Trump terror ban. We don't want people in our country that are going to blow up our shopping centers. Thank you very much. And we want a country of law and order. So we're going to rebuild the capital of our country, Washington, D.C. We're going to scrub those beautiful marble columns and get the swastikas off them, and we're going to scrub them and get the graffiti off them, and we're going to clean the streets, and we're going to rebuild the streets. And we're not going to have rusted medians through the middle that are falling down into the roads where foreign dignitaries from all over the world come and they look. And we're not going to be riding on top of garbage like I did just a month ago, riding on top of garbage. We're going to rebuild our beautiful Washington, D.C., and we're going to take control of it, and we're going to make unbelievably harsh penalties for people that go around shooting. Last week, they shot 3 people. And every night, something happens. It's so sad. And likewise, we're going to rebuild our cities, and we'll work with the Democrats to do it. I'd be glad to work with the people in New York. We're going to work with the people in Chicago and L.A. We're going to rebuild our cities, and we're going to make them safe. And we're going to give our police officers immunity. So every time they do something, they don't get sued and stopped. We're going to end crime in our cities. In Iowa, you don't know what that means, but I'll tell you, this is a different place. You don't know about crime. You don't know about getting mugged and getting whacked and getting thrown into subways, and we're going to stop it. And we're going to come down very hard on criminals, and we're going to stop crime in America. So I want to just finish by saying that this has been an incredible experience. The people have been, this is the 3rd time we've won, but this is the biggest one. They said, well, if you win by 12%, that's a big win. That's going to be very hard to do. Well, I think we more than doubled that, I guess, tripled it maybe. They said, you'll never get over 50, and I just left and we were at 54. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but they said, you can't do that, sir. I said, what's about the highest? Well, you could get into the 40s, maybe 40, 41. And then I look up, and, you know, it's very interesting. I didn't know they called it early. I thought that they called it at about 10 o'clock. My impression, see this gentleman? He's dressed like a wall. I love this guy. He's been at 150 rallies probably, right? He has the most beautiful outfit I've ever seen. It's all beautiful brick. Will you come up here? Just come up here. Come on. It's so nice to see. Right? Come on up here. He's emblematic of what we did. We built over 500 miles of wall. We were going to add another 200 miles. It's much more than we promised. And we had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the worst border in the history of the world. Look at this, man. Congratulations.
Incredible to see you again.
Really nice. Nice to see you, man. You take care of yourself, okay?
Absolutely will.
Thank you.
Take care.
I love that outfit. I love him. That's great. We love it. That's a hot-selling jacket, by the way. So. But that represents what we did. No, we built a tremendous, that's the reason. And we got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free. And we had Remain in Mexico, and we had Catch and Release in Mexico. And we did a job. We had the safest border in our history. We had the greatest economy in our history. We were a great nation 3 years ago, and now we're a nation in decline. We are going to turn it around so fast. It's going to happen so fast. We're going to drill. We're going to we have great wealth. We're going to drill. We're going to use that money to lower your taxes even further. We gave you the biggest tax cut in history, and we're going to lower them further, and we're also going to pay off national debt. It's about time. It's about time. So it's now off to New Hampshire, a great place. We won it last time, and we won it both times, and we love it. The people are great. But you know, the truth is the people in our country are great. They're all great. We love Iowa, but they're all great. They only want to see one thing. They want our country to come back. They're embarrassed by what's going on. Our country is laughed at. All over the world, they're laughing at us. And they want our country to come back. They want America, you know, they want us to be great again. It's a very simple MAGA, make America great again. And America first. America first is a very important part of MAGA. So we're going to put America first. We're going to make America great again. Again, Iowa, we love you. You are going to, you just go out and buy larger tractors and more land. Don't worry about it. And to all of the people standing behind me and all of the people in this room and so many great politicians.
So thanked Doug Burgum, complimented all of his opponents, wasn't vitriolic. It was a smart tone. It was a lot more measured, a lot more of a measured tone that he usually takes. And he was still conversational and kind of relaxed, but he didn't come off as this asshole as he usually comes off as. So I think that's smart, and he's trying to play this very muted tone. He knows he has his base locked up. Therefore, maybe it's time to play nice for the first time. But he's probably only playing nice for this moment and for this night. And I think Nikki Haley's going to make him sweat quite a bit more. Well, he'll no longer be playing nice. But I think Nikki Haley deals with those attacks quite well. So, yeah, take a look at some of Trump's speech, which you've probably already seen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. Thanks so much. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at us. We love you too. They threw everything but the kitchen sink at us. They spent almost $50 million attacking us. No one's faced that much all the way just through Iowa. The media was against us. They were writing our obituary months ago. They even called the election before people even got a chance to vote. But they were just so excited about the fact that they were predicting that we wouldn't be able to get our ticket punched here out of Iowa. But I can tell you, because of your support, in spite of all of that they threw at us, everyone against us, we've got our ticket punched out of Iowa. And what I learned by going around Iowa is that this country has a basic decency. We've got hardworking people, God-fearing people, patriotic people. You just don't see it every day because of all the nonsense that gets spewed out there by the media, by social media, all this other stuff. People want to have hope for this country's future, and that's what we represent. We represent a chance to reverse the madness that we've seen in this country, to reverse the decline of this country, and to give this country a new birth of freedom and a restoration of sanity. That's what we are going to do. So we have our marching orders. Our marching orders are to do all we can to preserve what George Washington called the sacred fire of liberty. The same fire that burned in Philadelphia in 1776 when our founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. The same sacred fire of liberty that burned at a cemetery in Gettysburg when our first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, pledged our nation to a new birth of freedom. The same sacred fire of liberty that was on the beaches of Normandy in 1944 when our band of brothers stormed those shores and helped free the world. The same sacred fire of liberty that was at the Berlin Wall in 1987 when Ronald Reagan stood there and said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." This is our responsibility, to carry this torch and to preserve this sacred fire of liberty. Don't run away from this responsibility. We welcome this responsibility. We thank you for your effort. We thank you for your support. You helped us get a ticket punched out of the Hawkeye State. We have a lot of work to do, but I can tell you this, as the next president of the United States, I am going to get the job done for this country. I am not going to make any excuses, and I guarantee you this, I will not let you down. Thank you all. God bless you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
And you'll notice the words that they use kind of change that reflect the position that they find themselves in. So DeSantis said he got his ticket punched. He got his ticket punched out to Iowa. So he has his ticket, not that he won or that Iowa decided to choose him, but you could see him limping along. I think it was a decent enough speech, somewhat substantive, referencing Reagan, and you could see DeSantis is trying to be that classic 1980s archetype conservative. So I don't think it was a great speech, but I don't think it was a bad speech either. So yeah, Nikki Haley gave kind of an unremarkable speech where she said a whole lot of nothing.
I want to say to my husband, who is deployed, who I know may or may not be watching this right now, Michael, I love you. And what keeps me going is I know we sleep under the same stars. So I want to say to Rena and Josh and Nayland, I am so proud of you. The best job I will always have is being your mom. I want to thank my parents who are at home. Every day they reminded us how blessed we were to live in America. I want to thank my sweet brother who came out here and was caucusing for me. A good Desert Storm veteran, and I want to thank my other siblings there. I want to thank Michael's parents, Bill and Carol Haley, who've been fantastic along the way as well. You can't do this without the strength of your family. I want to congratulate President Trump on his win tonight. We have had an amazing 11 months here in the Hawkeye State. I came to Iowa early and often, and I kept coming back, even though the cold weather is brutal. But the kindness of Iowans will never be lost on me. You're faithful, patriotic, and hardworking Americans, and I will forever be grateful for the time that we had. At one point in this campaign, there were 14 of us running. I was at 2% in the polls. But tonight, Iowa did what Iowa always does so well. The pundits will analyze the results from every angle. We get that. But when you look at how we're doing in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, and beyond, I can safely say, tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race. Tonight, I will be back in the great state of New Hampshire. And the question before Americans is now very clear. Do you want more of the same? Or do you want a new generation of conservative leadership? I've spoken a lot of hard truths to America, and here's another one. I voted for Donald Trump twice. I was proud to serve in his administration. But when I say more of the same, you know what I'm talking about. It's both Donald Trump and Joe Biden. They have more in common than you think. 70% of Americans don't want another Trump-Biden rematch. A majority disapprove of both of them. Trump and Biden are both about 80 years old. Trump and Biden both put our country trillions of dollars deeper in debt, and our kids will never forgive them for it. Trump and Biden both lack a vision for our country's future because both are consumed by the past, by investigations, by vendettas, by grievances. America deserves better. A new direction under new conservative leadership. We deserve a president who will focus on the needs of our people, not on themselves. A president who will rebuild our economy, close our border, and stand up to our enemies. Most importantly, we deserve a president who will stop our self-loathing, end division and fear, and make America strong and proud. Our campaign is the last best hope of stopping the Trump-Biden nightmare. But it's more than that. Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 of the last 8 presidential elections. That's nothing to be proud of. We should want to earn the support of a majority of Americans. All the evidence says that if it's a Trump-Biden rematch, it's going to be another toss-up election. It could go either way. We could have more disputes over election interference, and Joe Biden could win again. With Kamala Harris waiting in the wings. Lord help us if that happens. And then look at what happens when I go head-to-head against Biden. In a landslide, it's not even close. That means no recounts, no lawsuits, and no doubts. It means no more Chuck Schumer leading the Senate. No more endless votes for House Speaker because we'll have a huge House majority. We'll term limit the do-nothing Washington politicians. We'll rebuild our economy and secure our border. No more excuses. And make no mistake, we will restore our national pride. We are blessed to live in America, and it's time that we remember that. And as we head to New Hampshire, I have one more thing to say. We're gonna win! Underestimate me, because that's always fun.
The family stuff was cute. I like that. It's good that she mentioned her husband that served. She'll win a lot of points for that. But I didn't see a lot of energy. I didn't see a lot of charisma. You know, you think of speakers like Obama who really inspire people. Haley does not necessarily have that. She's certainly likable. She's certainly eloquent, but she doesn't have that energy that brings people to their feet. So I don't really, I've been saying some nice things about Haley, but don't think too much of her speech. Vivek Ramaswamy's speech, kind of generic, talking about speaking truth, not just to the Democrats, but to the Republicans, and largely is pretty subservient to Trump's.
Tonight, I want to first thank our incredible team that has worked their tails off for the last year and the last month here in Iowa. All of you volunteers, you have lifted us up from, February of last year when we got into this. Nobody knew who we were. Nobody knew what we were up to. And together we have created a movement that I think is going to carry our nation to the next level. And for that, all of the patriots across this state, across this country, everybody watching on the live stream, we are so grateful to you. And I promise you this, we are just getting started in leading this movement to our future, okay? Now, this is a campaign founded on speaking the truth. Not just when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not just to the Democrats, but to our own side. And not just to other campaigns and candidacies, but to ours. And so I will stick to the truth tonight. The first hard truth, and this one's hard for me. I got to admit this. But we've looked at it every which way, and I think it is true that we did not achieve the surprise that we wanted to deliver tonight. And I think that that's just a hard fact that we're going to have to accept as a campaign. And the question then is, what do we do that is right for our country? And so Purv and I, we actually didn't make this contingency plan before everybody told us to. We said, no, we're not doing that. But we talked about it tonight. We took a little bit of time in our apartment in Des Moines before coming here to make some hard choices. And I wanted to make a couple of announcements tonight to get the business out of the way. And then I want to tell you where we're going. As of this moment, we are going to suspend this presidential campaign. And this is going to have to be, there is no path for me to be the next president absent things that we don't want to see happen in this country. And I think that I am very worried for our country. I think we are skating on thin ice as a nation. We have done everything in our part to make, and done, every one of us in this room has done our part to save this country. And I am so proud of every one of you who have lifted us up. But we're a campaign founded on the truth. And so that's why we've made that decision today. And I'm also making the decision that this has to be an America First candidate in that White House. As I've said since the beginning, there are two America First candidates in this race. And earlier tonight, I called Donald Trump to tell him that I congratulated him on his victory. And now going forward, he will have my full endorsement for the presidency. And I think we're going to do the right thing for this country. And so I'm going to ask you to follow me in taking our America First movement to the next level. It did not begin in 2016. It began in 1776. And for the next journey of this race, we are going to make sure that our movement is actually the one that actually leaves and saves this country in the next step.
saying there are two America First candidates, and a lot of it was sycophantic to Trump. I admired his tone. He thanked his supporters, and you could see the emotion on his wife's face. You could tell that she really was inspired by the people that they met in the campaign trail, and that was nice to see. His speech was very short, I think too short, and I think could have been a lot more substantive and a lot more appreciative of his own efforts versus just kind of folding to Trump and talking about him in these magnanimous terms, in my opinion. But good speech, good enough speech, I would say. So yeah, that would be it. I think Trump gave the best out of all the speeches only because he did something different and somewhat unexpected, and he'll get some news just for, oddly enough, saying the right thing and not being vitriolic and not being bombastic. So it's a smart tone for him to take. So I think he gave the best speech because the other ones were just very unremarkable, generic. You could have written the speech before you even heard it if you knew the candidates and what they stood for and how they communicated with the voters. So a lot of lost opportunities. A lot of people are paying attention to these speeches after the big night. And I think Haley, DeSantis, and Vivek, all three of them kind of wasted it. Did well enough. None of them I disliked. But none of them I was inspired by, nor was I inspired by Trump's. But I think if you're looking at strategy, he played it smart in terms of speeches and long-term strategy, because a post-big election night speech can set the entire tone for the rest of the campaign. This is the time that people are watching, and candidates need to realize it. They need to bring the energy. They need to inspire people. They need to do something that surprises the people that are watching. And these three candidates kind of indicated they're not ready for prime time. So a shifting race tonight. I've been the one, again, I'm talking about if you're watching me or watching an objective source, I've been the one saying that Trump is losing momentum, but this night in his speech specifically may very well turn that around. So just telling the facts here, for better or for worse. Going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And stay tuned. We'll have an event with Marianne Williamson tomorrow. Be posting that. And I think Ron DeSantis is coming to New Hampshire as well, probably tomorrow. One of them, he has a town hall, so I don't know what the situation is, if you could attend, or if anybody could attend, or if it's worth interviewing people, but I'm going to try to make it to that. But also to Marianne and then Nikki Haley down the road. So there's some, but bummed out, can't go to a Vivek event. But thank you for a lot of Vivek fans, a lot of new subscribers because of him. So thanks for, and I lost some subscribers too, but that's okay. But thank you for coming over, and thank you guys for watching. Take care.